Hello everyone. In this video, we would like to talk about anxiety during pandemic, but first we will define what anxiety is. Anxiety is a feeling of fear, panic, and worry. It can make you sweat, restless, and tense, and it can be a normal reaction to stress, but for people with anxiety disorders, fear is not temporary and can be overwhelming. First, what are anxiety disorders? These are conditions in which the anxiety does not go away and can get worse over time. They are among the most common mentally health problems. They affect people of all ages, including adults, children, and teens. There are many different types of anxiety disorders with different symptoms. However, they all have one thing in common: occurs too often. It is too intense. It is disproportionate to current situation, and it interferes with the people's daily life and happiness. COVID-19 came to change our lives. It has led us to insulate ourselves, keep us at home. It has forced us to live with situations for which we were not prepared psychologically. First of all, because we live it in constant routine, keeping ourselves busy at work or school, with friends, doing sports, activities that in most of them we were in contact with the outside, which led us to live in a world outside ourselves, full of his, to such a degree that we do not have time or do not want to stop and reflect on what is really being through or felt at those moments. With the arrival of the pandemic and the quarantine, it is undebated that at some point of that moment of limitation to the outside come to us. It scares the mere fact of thinking that you will not leave home, that you will not be able to do everything you did before. It is at the moment when you stop to review what you think, feel, or remember about life, giving rise to sensations similar to the feeling of loneliness, the primary fear of the health situation, and later of getting sick. And this aggravated if a family member goes through this or even dies from this virus, remembering mistakes made, of course, in life and whatever. Those generating fear, the much regret, anxiety, questions, doubts, insecurities, and creating emotional and psychological discomfort.
Well, anxiety can be really difficult to deal with, and even more with this quarantine. In my experience, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety lately and during this whole pandemic. Honestly, it's so overwhelming being at home all the time and you start thinking about things that may happen or may not happen, and it is just a bunch of overthinking, and then this develops with physical and emotional symptoms. Like, for example, I've been dealing with a lot of crying, a lot of stop breathing. Sometimes I feel loneliness, a lot of fear and worry, and I am working on this. And the thing that helps me the most is relaxing and taking a time off of everything to do things that I like and enjoy, like maybe eating something that I like a lot or taking a bath. And I try to talk and be with my family, and that also helps sometimes. So yeah, it can be really difficult for people that deal with anxiety during this pandemic, but it is not impossible. And I personally recommend going to therapy if you are able to. But there also are some healthy ways to cope with anxiety that professional people recommend, like, for example, taking breaks from watching, reading, or listening to news, including those on social media. It's good to be informed, but hearing about the pandemic constantly can be upsetting. Consider limiting news to just a couple times a day and disconnecting from phone, TV, and computer screens for a while. Also, try to take care of your body. Some examples for this can be taking deep breaths, stretch, or meditate. Also, try to eat healthy and well balanced meals. Also, exercise regularly, get plenty of sleep, avoid excessive alcohol, tobacco, and substance use, and of course, continue with routine preventive measures as recommended by your healthcare provider. Also, make time to relax and try to do some other activities you enjoy. Connect with other people, talk with them, interact with people. Also, try to talk about your concerns and how are you feeling. And another advice, and the last one, is to connect with your community. While social distancing measures are in place, try connecting online through social media or by phone or mail with your friends or family so you can feel more campaign with people.
An anonymous person told us that for a long time he has suffered from depression. He goes up and down easily. Before he was quarantined, he was going on a depressive period. He didn't have a job, and while the world seemed him so happy outside, him, on the other hand, was locked up in his house. But then he found a job and his mood leveled off. The funny thing is, in his quarantine, he felt more anxiety than depression. At first, all the time, he wondered how long the quarantine would last, locating his house, that place that should make him feel safe, but for him it was not. And that mixed with the fear of going out again. He felt trapped in a vicious cycle. Because of that, he started to drink more alcohol than usual. Every week, he bought himself a bottle of whiskey, and with the days, the number began to rise. Sometimes it was one, then two, until at one point he turned it on every day. He went out to smoke on the balcony when the lights went out. He felt in a strange crisis between drinking, smoking marijuana, and taking antidepressant made him feel like he was floating all the time. He started to mixing everything, and it was a serious mistake. Now, nowadays, he continues to drink frequently, but he have lowered it. He no longer feels in that vicious cycle because he went out of his way. He also started taking photos and writing to channel that anxiety. He really feels like he can control it.